everyone. Today I will be talking about a topic that most of us have heard about before, but have never truly gone into depth about this topic. So my speech today will be about Roman gladiators, about how they came to be, their training, and what would happen in the arena. So I got all of this information from credible resources such as history websites and ancient education websites. Did you know that most of the time gladiators didn't actually die? That was just something that movies based on these events took to try to make everything more interesting. Gladiators were mostly just slaves that were forced into the arena to fight for their freedom. So that's all pretty general information, but I would like to get more detailed into how this all started. So something that you need to know first is that the original point for these fights or games was to honor the dead as a kind of funeral. So the first gladiator fight was in 264 AD to honor a dead aristocrat named Junius Brutus Para, according to 3 different websites that I looked at for information. These kinds of events just kept happening because power had flipped in Rome. So the Roman Republic became the Roman Empire under the rule of Augustus, also known as Octavian. Because of the power switch, many armies decided to attack Rome to regain power or take it away from the Roman Empire. All of those attempts were unsuccessful, so Rome took prisoners of war and turned them into slaves. So, according to a gladiator history website. Some words that were really helpful for me when navigating all these websites for information were munia, which means duty, such as serving as funeral entertainment. Also, gladius means sword, and lanista means trainer. There will be many more examples of Latin words that will be used to name different kinds of fighters in the future, but those were just really helpful for me to know when I was first looking through those websites. Now, the people didn't want gladiators just swinging their swords around willy-nilly. So, ludus gladiatoris, gladiator schools, came to be. They had lanistas, trainers I was talking about earlier. They had to eat a high-energy diet, and they had expert medical attention. So within these schools, gladiators were also separated into different classes. According to ancient.eu/gladiator, there were 4 different main classes called Samnite, Thracian, Myrmio, and Rhetarius. So the Samnite class was the most heavily armed. It had a sword or lance, a shield, and protective armor. The Thracian class used a short curved sword, also known as a sica, and a small shield. The Myrmio class had a short sword, a big shield, but minimal armor. The Rhetarius class had only a padded shoulder piece, a net, and a trident. The goal was for them to wrap the opponent under the net and then stab them with the trident. There are also other kinds of gladiators, according to that same website, that didn't fit into any of those 4 main classes, such as archers, dual wielders, boxers, horse-drawn chariot riders, and bestiari, who would fight animals in the wild animal hunts. Now, the gladiators had trained in all their specialties, so it came to the time where they actually needed to fight. The fight took place in the Colosseum, which could seat 50,000 people. The reason so many seats were made was so that people could be entertained. In the Colosseum, there were box seats that could be bought by the rich and powerful, so they could be more comfortable while watching. According to impactsofgladiatortoday.com, that is where the box seats come from for our stadiums today. There were a variety of different fights that could take place, and there was even chariot races, so no fighting. There were also naval fights using boats, and for that reason, there were drains in the middle of the Colosseum so that water could flow out through the aqueducts, according to tribunesandtriumphs.org. The point of the gladiators fighting was to gain their freedom if they were slaves, or to gain some kind of celebrity status if they won. Women were also allowed to partake in the fighting, but it was rare. They paved the way for women joining sports in our time. And then, according to ancient.eu, all of the gladiator fights ended in 404 AD as Christianity took over Europe. To conclude this speech, I would like to go over the important pieces of information that were told quickly. The points of these fights were to honor the dead and bring entertainment to the people. There are also different reasons why people became gladiators, and they had different choices of weapon or class. Though there weren't as many deaths as portrayed in the movies, there was still some if the gladiator refused to lose. Thankfully, these events don't happen today, but there were some good things that came out of it. Of course, the box seats and the women in sports, but there's something that was even more interesting, at least to me. The gladiators had sports dietitians that would document exactly how certain foods affect the body. That research is what first started the field of nutrition. So I hope you all learned a lot from this speech. It was a very interesting topic. I had fun learning about it, and I look forward to seeing the rest of the speeches. Bye!